I had 3 victims that I've been working with, victims of the Carters, that were ready to come forward. This might help them feel a little more confident now. So this is great. Everything you see about him is an illusion, but what he loves the most is controlling youth.
Fact check me. And Jaguar has more information than I do. So to anybody who discredits her is really doesn't know what's going on, because she has more information than I could even dream of having, because I'm sure, without even speaking to her about this.
For 15 years, we've all believed the same story. Rihanna, the innocent victim. Jay-Z, the protective mentor. Chris Brown, the monster who destroyed it all. But what if everything you think you know is backwards? What if the real victim was silenced while the real perpetrator built an empire on lies? Tonight, Jaguar Wright shatters every assumption you've ever made about this story. Because sometimes the person playing the victim is actually the one covering for the real Prin, and the evidence she's about to reveal will prove that Rihanna isn't innocent. She's complicit. Let's start at the beginning, but not the fairy tale version you've been sold. Picture this. A 16-year-old girl from Barbados flown halfway around the world without her parents, sitting alone in a Manhattan skyscraper at 3 a.m. No chaperone, no protection, just a child and a powerful.
So tell me about your audition with Jay-Z. Tell me what he said to you.
A really good audition.
Yes.
But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
And you had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Pon de Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh yes, he said, we don't sing songs here, we sing artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door or something.
Oh, then he said, he said it whole word.
I did a lot of homework on you, this lady.
He said, there are 2 ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal sign or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing.
Yeah.
Listen carefully to Rihanna's own words as she innocently reveals the truth about that night. She calls it an audition, but notice the details she let slip. The intimidation, the isolation, the way she was kept there until she had no choice but to sign.
We signed it that night. We didn't let her leave the office.
Really?
The 3 in the morning was when that contract got signed. So from the meeting around 3, 4 in the afternoon, we signed it by 3 in the morning.
Wow.
That day I was absolutely certain.
How often does that happen? I mean, that's
not often.
That's unheard of, right?
That's not, yeah. I mean, to get lawyers to draft up contracts and then the other side to agree to contracts in 10 hours that's retarded.
Now, here's Jay-Z himself, years later, practically bragging about what happened. We didn't let her leave without signing. Think about those words. A grown man admits he didn't let a 16-year-old girl leave his office until she signed away. Her future. That's not a business deal. That's coercion. You get discovered.
This is an unusual story.
Well, first, I met a producer in Barbados who was vacationing there because his wife is from there. So he was vacationing there one time, and my friend who knows him, she wanted me to meet with him. So in a nutshell, I went to his hotel room, I sang for him, and he was impressed. So he invited me out to his studio to do some recording. And we recorded for like a year back and forth. Then we finally put a demo together. We sent it to a few labels. And Def Jam happened to be the first label to call back. They were the most enthusiastic about everything. So we set up a meeting with Jay-Z, and I met with him, and he was very impressed by the audition. And he didn't let me leave until 3 in the morning after we signed the deal.
Well, were you nervous meeting Jay?
What? I was literally shaking in the lobby. It was the longest 12 hours of my life. Like, I was just waiting downstairs, and I was like, get the contract down here. I want to sign. I was so hyped. I didn't sleep for the next 3 days.
And here's the proof of the psychological trauma. Rihanna couldn't sleep for 3 days after that signing. 3 days. When someone can't sleep after a business meeting, that's not excitement. That's trauma response. Your body knows when something terrible has happened, even when your mind tries to rationalize it. Was a kid at that time.
He was a kid at that time, correct?
A 15-year-old girl who had been flown to the United States without parental supervision or a chaperone, brought to a grown man's office in a large corporate Manhattan building. Everybody knew when she flew in. I was there the day she got signed. Everyone was talking about it. And the 6 hours that she spent with him, and the 4 hours that she spent alone with him with no parental supervision. Her father didn't show up till the next day to come and collect the check.
Well, and there's
this is her life.
The rumors were even beyond that, right? That Jay-Z was cheating on Beyonce with her when she was
Very much
17
so.
is what a lot of this came out through a publicist who later then
Have
had
you
to
spoken
apologize.
to my friend Jonathan? Hey, you should talk to Jonathan.
But Jag, You Are Right takes us deeper into the darkness. She reveals that Rihanna was actually even younger, just 15 when this systematic conditioning began. A 15-year-old girl alone in a corporate building with a purred who had been planning this encounter for hours. 4 hours this child was alone with him while the entire industry looked the other way.
Then the next thing you know, she was removed from that first team from Palm the Replay and replaced with all new handlers and kept sheltered in Los Angeles, where she was going out to parties and partying at 15, 16, 17 years old, hanging out at the Rainbow Room, hanging out. Yeah, like it was one of my friends who found out she was 17 when everyone thought she was 21. And he was like, yo, why do y'all got me carrying this girl around and she's oh, it's cool.
Well, but just to echo and support you, like they had to debunk that. Oh, we apologize. It wasn't real. We made it up in hopes of giving her single a boost.
Yeah, they
like,
promised
what?
Jonathan a deal working at Tidal and something, and then they reneged. And then the next thing you know, he was caught in a home invasion robbery while he was working on the Drake secret baby mama story,
Jeez.
Sophie. He was duct taped him and his daughter, and he was pow whipped in front of his child. So, you know, there's a lot that goes on in the backdrop.
The conditioning didn't stop with the contract. Jaguar exposes how Rihanna was immediately thrown into adult party scenes at 15 and 16, surrounded by people who should have protected her, but instead enabled her exploitation. And here's the chilling part. When people in the industry tried to speak up, tried to point out that she was just a kid, they were systematically eliminated from the picture. Even her Grammy moment, what should have been her triumph, was controlled and interrupted by Jay-Z. Watch this footage and ask yourself, is this a mentor celebrating his artist's success? Or is this a controller making sure his asset stays in line?
Dad, I know I promised you I'm going to give you my first Grammy, but we might have to fight for this one.
She said she want to thank everybody for her first Grammy.
Anyway, I'd like to thank Jay-Z for being a part of this record with me.
She like to thank Jigga Man for being the greatest in the world.
Ellen Reed, Steve Bartles, Tata, Jay Brown, Karen Kwok for finding this amazing record. Tricky, Dream for writing such a beautiful record. Thank you, I love you guys. Mom, Dad, my two brothers, Rory and Rajad. Please wrap up, okay? Barbados, I love you. We got one. Evan Rogers, Carl Sturken, Mark Jordan, Krista, making sure I don't forget anybody. Thank you so much. This means
a lot. This isn't the story of a discovered talent. This is documentation of systematic prey behavior wrapped in the language of the music business. And the most disturbing part, Rihanna learned this system so well that she would later use these exact same tactics to help destroy someone who threatened to expose the truth. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because first, you need to understand that Rihanna wasn't Jay-Z's only target. She was part of a pattern that had been repeating for decades. And the person who knows this pattern better than anyone else, the woman sleeping next to him every night.
He's been evading, but the thing is, everyone in the backdrop knew that he was the celebrity John Doe. Everybody knew that. They knew it when I did Pierce Morgan.
Is Beyonce Celebrity B?
I hope to God not. But she was around. And she's very... she's got enough on her plate. After everything that happened with the election and everything that's happening right now, I'm not going to dump on that woman. She got better fish to fry.
Well,
what I
look.
will say is that her husband, she knows exactly who he is.
Drops a bombshell that should shake you to your core. Beyonce knows exactly who her husband is. She knows what he's been doing. She's been watching this systematic preach behavior for decades, and she's chosen to stay silent. Not because she's afraid, because she's protecting an empire worth more to her than the lives he's destroyed. Think about that for a moment. The woman celebrated as a feminist icon, the one who sings about female empowerment, has been the closest witness to systematic mistreatment of young girls and has never said a word.
He was after Beyonce when she was before 18, correct? I mean, as we go through the timeline, they claim, oh no, I met him at 18 and then we waited till I was 19, but they knew each other when she was like 15, 16, correct? He clearly had eyes, and it's not the only one, right? There's Aaliyah as well. I was looking at these photos. There's a history
but Aaliyah,
of this, right?
definitely. A lot of people don't realize the timeline, but after everything went bad with Robert Kelly and he had to divorce Aaliyah, Jay-Z was interested while she was still underage. And as she started spending more time in New York, he was very, very, very right there. She didn't want that. She didn't want that with him. And if there's one thing I can tell you about Sean Carter, being embarrassed and being rejected are things he does not handle well. You know, a lot of people say, oh, you're crazy. He didn't do anything to Big L.
Now, Jaguar reveals the full scope of the pattern. Jay-Z didn't just target Rihanna. He systematically went after Beyonce when she was underage. And before that, he pursued Aaliyah when she was just a teenager. 3 different times, 3 different girls, same pedigree pattern. But here's where it gets chilling. Aaliyah was different. She rejected him. And according to Jaguar, Jay-Z doesn't handle rejection well. Remember that phrase because we'll come back to it when we talk about what happens to people who refuse to play along with his system. Notice the timeline here. Beyonce at 15, Aaliyah at 16, Rihanna at 15. This isn't coincidence. This is methodology. Jay-Z has been using his industry position to access and exploit MS for over 30 years, and he's developed a system for doing it.
That Jay-Z used to have transgender women on there. On the tour bus, he knows that. He knows that Jay-Z used to prefer transgender women. So I don't know why. I wish Dame Dash would come out and, you know, say everything, but maybe in his own way, he's trying to, you know, protect the hip hop culture and knows how many people could be crushed if he came out and really spoke about Jay-Z's secrets. They set out to do that, you know?
Did you personally see Jay-Z with transgender women? You personally?
I have, correct.
Can you speak on like maybe in what aspect? Is it music video or outside of music videos?
It was during the tour. It was during the tour with the Mill, DMX, Jay-Z.
The Hard Knock Life.
No.
Or maybe a different one.
Yeah, they had the documentary for it. What was that called? I'll think of it. I'll think of it here in a little bit.
Yeah, it was a documentary, backstage or
backstage with the Mill and all that. I used to work with her, and I definitely. It was unmistakable. You know, in 2024, the trans women are. You know, it can be hard, you know, like a lot of people that, you know, they don't know. But back then it wasn't as advanced and you could clearly tell, you know, that was a guy.
The pattern goes even deeper than we imagined. Here's industry insider Jonathan Hay revealing Jay-Z's hidden-ass deviant that even his closest business partners witnessed. Dame Dash saw things that made him uncomfortable enough to distance himself from Jay-Z permanently. This isn't just about targeting young girls. This is about a man whose intimate behavior was so disturbing that his own business partner couldn't stomach being around him anymore. And remember, this is the same man who was alone in that office with 15-year-old Rihanna for 4 hours. But here's what makes Beyonce's silence even more damaging. She didn't just know about the pattern, she benefited from it. Every time Jay-Z successfully exploited another young girl, it strengthened their empire. Every time he got away with it, it protected their brand. Every time the industry looked the other way, it secured their legacy. Beyoncé made a choice. When she discovered what her husband really was, she could have exposed him. She could have protected the other girls. Instead, she chose to become his most powerful ally in covering up decades of systematic mistreatment. And that choice would soon have deadly consequences for anyone who threatened to expose the truth. But first, you need to understand how Jay-Z maintains control over his victims once he has them, because the conditioning was just the beginning. What came next was a systematic control operation designed to ensure permanent silence and compliance.
Speaking of PTSD, you made a comment about this. Like, this was from a Super Bowl appearance more recently. This bothered you, seeing her put the Rockefellers logo out there.
If you
what was
go
your
back
instinct to that?
and watch, it was almost as if she didn't want to put her hands up, and then she looked over where Jay-Z's box was, and then you just see her hand. She look at her. She's looking at his box. She didn't want to do it. She didn't even want to do that gig. But the hold, especially the financial hold with the companies and all of the money and all of the strings that he pulled to. He treats these women like shell corporations.
Is that why this happened? Do you have any insight on this infamous elevator video where Solange was seen just unloading on him? Beyonce's there as well.
What I will say is, right there, that's the moment when he told her to back up and called her Tito Jackson.
Respect
There was-
and love to Tito Jackson, who we just lost recently.
I know. Tito
Legend,
could never
yeah.
get a break. And he's the nicest guy.
But here,
yeah,
Jay-Z
there
trying to
was-
mimic, she's not worthy, she's nobody, is what he's trying to do.
Pretty
And this
much is what he pretty much said to her. But the thing is there was infidelity that was happening that night. Both of them got caught doing things they weren't supposed to do. I believe there might have been some DV that happened. And people who know Mr. Carter knows he doesn't have a problem with putting his hands on his wife. Plenty of people know that to be true. Solange is different.
Allegedly,
Solange is different. She's old school Southern, and she loves her big sister even when her big sister makes mistakes. She stood up for her sister. The most interesting thing about that, though, can we look at that one more time, Andy? They come in and all of this, and then look, it almost looks like he's going to defend himself, but instead he prostrates himself, right? He lets Solange go nuts, and then he sits there and acts. He knows that camera's there. He knows where all the cameras are in that place. There's another footage, and I'll get it and I'll send it to you, of him with another woman approaching him aggressively, or it seemed like aggressively, and he the crap out of her. Matter of fact, there's at least 5 different shows over the course of the past 15 years where he has physically women that came into his space that he didn't want anywhere near him. So I find it funny that in all those other instances, he had no problem with putting his hands on a woman to so-called defend himself. But when he's getting killed alive with cameras there, all of a sudden now he's meek and mild. I think that was a setup. I think he did that specifically to handle up on Solange.